Hello, friends. Welcome. Today, I'm going to talk about on a topic that has been on my mind for several years. It's not related to about something about teaching some aspect of astrology, but it is rather concerning about how an astrologer should approach a horoscope to make a good and exhaustive study of any horoscope and what are the current problems that an astrologer faces. So essentially it's about the importance of teamwork approach in astrology. Now this is what usually happens when recently I got a horoscope, and the request was to look from the business or the profession or the career point of view. And this was about a young chap, 13, 14 years of age, and the parents were keen in knowing that what kind of a career, profession, or service that particular guy is going to get into. Now, as an astrologer, when we are looking at a horoscope, and this is not only true for me, and I guess for most of the astrologer, let's say, this is the horoscope, and then immediately just to analyze the question around the nature of profession or service or career, so many things we have to look at. Whether this person will go into service or business or both. If this person goes into business, then what is the nature of business? Now, when we talk about the nature of business, there are thousands of businesses. Similarly, what about, will this guy have some kind of a partnership? Will that partnership work? Will that partnership break? If this person goes into service, then what is the nature of service? Will be a change of place or not? When promotions will happen, or when transfer will happen? When there will be a lean period when some kind of a suspension or demotion can happen in service? And what would be the nature of service, whether it's going to be a government service or a corporate service or some other kind of service. And then if this person goes into a business, then what is the preference for the name, the characters or the alphabet for the name that would be in harmony with the nature of business. And then obviously, if the when the business is started, what kind of muhurt or nakshatra should be chosen. So just for the business alone, you see that an astrologer has to look from so many different angles. If you divide each of these subjects into further sub subjects, then it ends into hundreds and hundreds of various angles from which an astrologer has to look into a chart just for the assessment of the type of business or service one will do. Let's take another example, marriage. Now, when an astrologer is looking at a chart from the prospects of a marriage, then there are so many things around marriage that can happen. There's early marriage that can happen, there is a late marriage that can happen. Then one of the usual question is whether it's going to be a love marriage or it's going to be arranged marriage, or will this person be ever married at all? And then what about the spouse? Is going to be a interracial marriage or an intercaste marriage? And then usual question is about divorce also. And if there is a separation, then is there a chance for a reunion or not? Then the usual questions around the matrimonial life and the domestic violence, kids, and all that. So just to look at a horoscope from the marriage perspective, an astrologer has to keep track of all these things. All these things are possible in a horoscope. Many times an astrologer get a request for a complete horoscope reading. Now, when we talk about the complete horoscope reading, then the character sketch. What are going to be the likes, dislikes, personality traits of a person? What kind of a education a person will have? The education sector alone has so many different branches, from administrative to engineering to technology to finance, medicine, so many different. What kind of disease a person is likely to go through. Now, I don't have to tell you how many diseases are there out there, and there are hundreds and hundreds of diseases that could be possible in a horoscope. Then the business and service, what kind of profession this particular horoscope will have. That I've already shown you that what kind of effort is required to assess the career of a person. Similarly, when we are doing a complete horoscope reading, then we have to look at the real estate, the properties or the house, then the finance, loans. Sorry about that. Then about the travel, will that person go abroad or not, then the children, and then the death and all that. So it becomes such a daunting exercise for any astrologer to go through all these various aspects of life and to create a good and impressive reading. So ultimately, what happens is that an astrologer has to wear multiple hats. These are some of the expertise that an astrologer is expected to have. He should be a nakshatra expert. He should be a marriage expert. He should be a education counseling expert. He should have a very vast knowledge about various kind of diseases a person can have, then about the various kind of business. Then he should be an expert in suggesting gemstones or mantra or totka. Then he he's expected to be a palmist or a numerologist, and also a vastu expert. So sometimes I think that this is a very overwhelming demand from the expectation from a general user. The expectation is okay, but the the part of the demand or the part of the pressure it puts on an astrologer is so daunting, and it becomes so overwhelming that I have always thought that unless and until there is a some kind of a team effort into solving these kind of a problem where astrologers come together, until then we astrologers will be producing a very average kind of a reading of the horoscope. Recently I was watching one of the ads from an astrologer, and I was shocked to hear that it said about a half a million satisfied users. So now, if you do a little math about any astrologer claiming to have half a million satisfied client, then it means that there should be another half a million those are unsatisfied. So 1 million clients. So 1 million clients in a period of 10 years of time is about 200 horoscopes a day. Now, if you look at one horoscope, just one horoscope, where you have to assess the nature of business from these parameters, and now you have to do two horoscopes a day, can you or can any astrologer justify the reading that he or she is going to make about that particular horoscope? In my own career as an astrologer for last several years, I have noticed that the general public or the general user, they are simple and they have faith and trust in an astrologer. So in a way, people are vulnerable, and it is not okay to exploit the trust. It's not okay for the astrologer to exploit this trust. In every other major discipline in life, we see that the the approach, having a teamwork, has proved to be very successful. For example, if you look in the financial industry, now they have these subject matter expert or the domain experts in various part of the financial service industry. Like for corporate financing, they have a different team. For commercial banking, they have different. For investment banking, for hedge fund. Similarly, if you look in the medicine, it's all too obvious. They have the whole experts or the specialized group of people working together on a certain domain. So you have people working in just focusing and working on anatomy, or just focusing and having expertise on the gynecology or on the cardiology. And when a patient goes and visits his or her family doctor, the family doctor get in touch with all these experts. In turn, what they do is that they submit their report, and finally the family doctor is able to convey the exact nature of ailment and also the treatment to the particular patient. So the role of teamwork is very, very important. That is what I have felt over a period of time. And today, especially in the contemporary modern world, the kind of questions that a user is going to put forth, and the kind of complex activity. See, 1,000 years ago there were just a few businesses. Today there's so many of diversified businesses. So everything has become so complex that just for an astrologer or a group of individuals, or an individual working on a horoscope, it's not possible to assess the correct reading of a horoscope compared to when the astrologers come together and work as a team. Now this is what has been on my mind for several years, that if somebody if a user wants a reading of the horoscope, then typically a team, this is how a team should come together. You have you have several members of the team. Somebody is very good at the calculation part. I have seen a lot of astrologers, they generate an incorrect horoscope, and based on the incorrect horoscope, they print out or send out 10, 12, 15 pages of report. So while the horoscope itself is incorrect. So in a team, you have experts who are very good at the calculation part. They will ensure that the horoscope is correct. Then you have somebody in the team that's very good at assessing the education prospects in a horoscope. Similarly for service business, and similarly for other aspects of life. So all these team members come together and they break down the task into several smaller chapters, and finally they all sit together and they discuss about the the overall the trend or the reading in a horoscope, and then finally the horoscope is submitted to the user. Now K.N. Rao, I remember K.N. Rao has done something in this regard, and I met few of his students long back, where at least one gentleman that I remember, he had been working on just on the focused on the fourth house. That was that is related to property and real estate and things like that. But the only issue was that if I am working on a horoscope, I have to I have to kind of go through that particular research and know about that particular research about the fourth house, and then assess a horoscope according to that research, and then write my opinion. Rather than this way, if I send the horoscope to that particular person who is has a very good domain knowledge on the fourth house regarding real estate properties and things like that, and that person can put his comment and send it back to me, I think this approach would be more helpful rather than these scattered approach. The integrated team approach, where each member of the team, they contribute their fair share of knowledge, and then finally everything is accumulated, assimilated at one place, and the report is sent to the user. That is what is on my mind. Now it doesn't really matter if somebody is doing research on, or somebody is following Parashar method or a Gemini method or Krishnamurti's method. The idea is that if these teams come together, let's say there are few astrologers who are good on the Parashar side or on the Gemini side or on the KP side, they form their own team, and as a team they work as a team. they look at in a horoscope as a team, and then the horoscope is assessed and the reading is done and submitted to the user, not on behalf of certain astrologer, but on behalf of the team. I think that approach would be very, very useful for the astrology world. In all other domains of life, we see this magic of teamwork bringing forth excellent result. I don't have to talk much about it. You already know that every single major discipline in life, every single corporation, they all have different teams working on particular domain or one particular subject, and this is a very proven method. But this particular method is lacking in astrology, and for this reason, the output, the general output from the astrologer is very average, and th- and that's why most of the astrologers, they tend to project themselves as having some kind of a siddhi and third eye and kundalini and all that, which is a pure nonsense. And they want to avoid the whole teamwork thing, and so just a matter of their bloated ego. So finally, I wanted to emphasize once more that the working in team will increase the collaboration and allow brainstorming. This is very important in astrology. An individual astrologer will not brainstorm, but a team can. Combined efforts of the team is greater than the sum of individual efforts. Right now, an individual astrologer is required to assess a horoscope from all angles: disease, marriage, business, service. He is expected to be a subject matter expert from all the angles. This is a very defeating kind of a proposition. And the team method is also a very proven method for accomplish data driven research, and eventually it provides more value to the general user who comes to an astrologer to seek some good advice, to seek some good counseling on the horoscope. So that is what was on the mind, the importance of the teamwork in the astrology. And I have not seen this kind of a thing. Uh, to the best of my knowledge, I have not seen, and that's why I thought that let me, create some kind of a discussion on this. So that is all for this video. Do let me have your comments. I would like to hear that. Thanks for watching.